Yeah, that's the FDB president there, and definitely we know that this headline inflation we see in Nigeria is mostly driven by food inflation at this time at over 33%. So definitely we need to get the farmers back to the farm. But let's head back to the market now, talking about the FX market. We'll have Chuka Nwachukwu join us via Zoom. There's Head Asset and Balance Sheet Management at the UBA. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Larry.
Yeah, so definitely we're expecting this sustained winning streak for the Naira, but we're seeing it that snapped yesterday. Talk to me about what drove sentiment in the FX market.
Okay, thank you very much. The sentiment has likely been driven by CBN activity. Recall that during the last MPC meeting, the CBN governor spoke on how CBN will intervene, and they've greatly intervened in the market. We've seen the rate drop from 1,800 levels to 1,600, and so that tells the volume of intervention in the market. And so we've seen the sentiment also. Some of the policies that have been put in place, especially as regard the NLP for banks, also the BDC policies are greatly working. The essence of this policy is to ensure that the system continues to be liquid, which obviously is what is happening now. And so as long as this policy continues, and then of course implementation in full compliance, the bank obviously are complying. I do also hope that the BDC people will comply as well, which I think they are. We will continue to see appreciation in the Naira.
Yeah, but from where you're sitting, do you see some kind of appreciation for the Naira this week?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, as long as CBN maintain this momentum, and then of course banks are complying and all stakeholders are complying, we continue to see appreciation. So, within the shortest period, I believe that we see around 1,400, 1,300 levels as it were.
Yes, and all of us are also hoping for that 700 Naira level at some point, hopefully. So let's talk about the FJ Savings bond auction for this month. That's the third one for this year. How did it go?
So that was last week. We had two maturities on offer, 2031 and then 2034. We saw the 2031 close at 18.5, and then 2034 close at 19% levels. This obviously has to do with let me put it this way, this is the high yield levels, right? Due to the MPC activity, especially the monetary policy rate increase from 18.5 to 22.5, and that's obviously means that most of the instruments in the fixed income market will continue to go up. For example, we've seen NTB came out last week auction at 19% for 1 year, and then also the Omo auction, which also came out on Friday, was printed around 21.5. And so this is the level, this is the season where we get to see high yield, and of course investors will always demand for higher yield in order to make it attractive to invest.
And talking about moves by the MPC and the central bank governor, yeah, we've seen rates now over 20%. That's the MPR rate, and we're seeing CRR at about 45%. When do you think we'll start to feel the impact of the last meeting on the markets?
I think the market has reacted. If you see what is happening on the fixed income side, for example, I just mentioned that we've seen that the yield rate has greatly elevated, and so this will continue. The only downside, is the fact that the system is in repo. The system liquidity is pretty tight. As at last night, it was around 612 billion negative, and so that obviously we are impacting the market negatively, especially with the auction coming in today. But again, it's also still in line with the CBN objective. The essence of increasing the MPR is also to mop up excess liquidity because of the worry on the high, skyrocketing inflation figures. And so this the policies is beginning to yield results on the fixed income market, and then as well as the liquidity impact in the system.
And talking about, liquidity, excess liquidity at this point, would you say we're starting to see all of that being mopped up, at this time? And looking at that CRR ratio there, talking about 45% hike. Now, what do you think, or how do you think the banks are looking at this, in 2024, so that they're still able to give out credit, going forward? Because at the end of the day, we know businesses are going through a lot, right now, and they're definitely going to need credit. So how are the banks, looking at this?
So the essence of the 45% increment in MPR, CRR, is also to fight excess liquidity, and then, but on one hand, also to assist the bank in terms of managing better management of liquidity. So in a short term, the policy will hurt banks because bank will need to adjust, especially regarding liquidity. System has also been tight due to before the MPC, they've always been CRR debit, and then so that also have helped to mop up the liquidity in the system, as well as the traditional OMO auction. The essence of the OMO also is to mop out liquidity in the system. So for me, I think in the short while, the policy will affect banks, and then of course high interest rate will also affect some businesses. But in the long run, it's going to be a win-win situation for everybody, especially as regards the economy, because I think the part of what government is trying to do is to kickstart the economy through the through the medium-scale businesses, to encourage them to be able to invest, in some of the activities that will affect the common man directly. And so, by and large, I believe that going into second quarter or third quarter, we'll begin to see the result of this government policy.
And going forward, what are you seeing, for that, for the rate, environment? That's talking about lending rates. Do you see this elevated, for longer, going forward in Nigeria?
I think what the CBN is trying to do is to, most of the policy now, is to gain confidence in the system, and that's what the governor said. And then secondly, to ensure that the inflation figures, and thirdly, also to ensure that the economy is kickstarted. Now, on the issue of lending rate, yes, we will definitely see adjustment in the lending rate, which to some extent will affect some businesses, but on the long run is a win-win situation for everyone. But again, the issue as regard the FX is not only monetary side of it. CBN is obviously doing its own part, which is monetary, but of course the fiscal angle will also have to be sorted out. For example, if you drill down the inflation figure that came out, you see that the food inflation is still going up, and so that obviously has to do with insecurity. And then that obviously falls to the fiscal side of policy. So if that is addressed, then we begin to see more farmers go to the farm. We begin to see farm produce, come into the end users, and then prices will start dropping. But for CBN, I think they've done extremely well, and they continue to do what is expected of them in terms of monetary. They can't really have much to do as regard the physical aspect of things.
Right, and we're definitely hoping that we win this battle when it comes to inflation and currency devaluation at this time. I want to thank you so much for joining me, Mr. Chuka Nwachukwu, Head Asset and Balance Sheet Management at UBA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ladi. Thank you so much.
All right, so on to our next conversation now. We're talking about getting stable power in Nigeria. And let's find out what our participants, as private sector participants, can do about getting us stable power, because power has not been great for a couple of days now and weeks now. Peter Ikenga joins me now, MD, Transcorp Power PLC. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes,
nice
good morning. Yeah, so finally, definitely you got listed, recently you've gone public, at this time. Talk to me about how this feels, for you as a company, and what we can expect.
So this is truly an exciting time for us at Transcorp Power. We got listed on Monday on the main board of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. We came in at the market capitalization valuation of 1.8 trillion. We immediately got embraced by the market. On the first day of listing, within 10 minutes, we had seen a capital appreciation of 10%. We sustained that performance yesterday, additional 10% yesterday. So truly it's exciting for us. Transcorp Power acquired Ughelli Power Plant in 2013, and on 1st of November marked our 10 years anniversary, first decade of impact. Now we're writing the history for the next decade, and the listing is a good way to segue into our future.
Quite an interesting one. But at the end of the day, I'm sure Nigerians are quite curious, about this time, because we want stable power supply, and we know definitely that the government has done what it can at this time, and we're now looking towards the private sector. How much can the private sector contribute, to actually make this a reality? Because we want to be a producer nation, and we can't do that without stable power.
Yeah, indeed. So I think it takes a village to raise a child. And so collaboration between government and private sector is the way to go, which is how things are going. So you recall that just last year, the president signed the Electricity Act into law. And this has opened up the sector for broader participation. So it's an exciting time for us. So for us at Transcorp Power, we see opportunity now with the liberalization of the electricity sector. We're making investment plans to maximize the capacity in our existing plant in Ughelli. We have plans around expanding our capacity, going into renewables, targeting the underserved population. Electricity penetration in Nigeria is about 50–60%, so there's still an underserved population. So we see opportunity in those areas as well. Right. And of course, the conversation around renewables, hydro, and all of that. So you're going to see increased investment. We're going to see increased collaboration right now, because now we can directly, sell power directly to the discos. So it makes it easy and easier to manage the value chain from generation all the way to distribution.
All right, let's look at some data from the MBS now. Looking at electricity supply, in Nigeria, we see in the third quarter of 2023, what about 5,731 gigawatt hour. That was what was supplied in the third quarter of 2023. If you can put up that data. The second quarter of 2023, 5,909. Then Q3 2022, we see was much lower there, 5,023. Talking about electricity supply, in Nigeria, we got that data from the MBS. That's the last one. We see estimated customers, third quarter, 6.03 million. Those are the ones still on estimated billing, at this time. Second quarter, 6 million. So we see that number actually, increasing. But, talk to me about, the growth strategy now for, Transcorp Power. How do you intend to take this number from about 5,000 gigawatts hour even higher?
So I think one is improved collaboration across the entire value chain, working with the discos to ensure that consumers actually do receive power when we generate in the grid. The next bit is around capacity. It's continue to grow the capacity. Historically, there's been challenges around collection within the sector, and all of that is improving now. And so we are at the crossroads whereby we see that things are going to improve for the better. The numbers are looking better. There's still some required investment, especially around gas supply within the sector, especially for thermal plants. It remains a big challenge. But beyond all of that, there's opportunity now because of the way the sector is going to be liberalized. And there are creative ways in which we can get power to consumers in a very creative manner, to ensure that we have sustained supply of power to critical sectors of the economy, because you require power to transform our economy. and to get Nigeria back to where it needs to be.
All right, talk to me about your expectations now. You know, what kind of impact you'd have, you know, on power generation in Nigeria, and give us some, paint a picture of the timeline we can, you know, look forward to.
So today, Transcorp Power has an installed capacity of 972 megawatts. We currently have 7% of the installed capacity in the country, but we actually do generate about 10% of all the electricity in the grid. So we're already contributing more than our fair share. We're going to continue to improve that performance. We're going to sustain our growth within the market. We want to be a dominant player in the market, ultimately. So I think for us is increase in investment. We also a member of the West Africa Power Pool, so we actually do cross-border sales of electricity across the border as well. So there's opportunity for us to actually expand even beyond the shores of Nigeria. We currently export power to the West ECOWAS region at the moment, so we continue to deepen our play. You know, there's possible collaboration with states, conversations around hydroelectricity and, you know, other forms of renewables. So I think for us, it's truly an exciting time. And once we get there, we'll be here to share our story.
And I'm sure, you know, some investors will be excited, you know, with this new listing. But talk to me about how you're going to make investors even more excited going forward.
Oh, yeah. So I think for investors, I mean, this is an exciting time. So you have to look at our track record. So over the last 5 years, we've consistently grown our revenue, compounded annual growth rate of about 20%. You know, our profit before tax has grown consistently over the last 5 years as well. So you're going to see a sustained performance, sustaining our growth trajectory. In a couple of weeks, 1 or 2 weeks, we'll be releasing our audited financial statements for 2023. And I can just say that's beautiful, great numbers. So I think investors will see a company that truly has a transformation story. We took over a plant that had a generation of 160 megawatts in 2013. Within a span of 4 years, we made strategic investments in that asset, recovered capacity, took it over 700 megawatts generation. So it's truly a story of transformation, and that performance is going to be sustained. And who other than now to invest in Transcorp Power? Right. Yes.
And we're definitely hoping for one day Nigeria we can boast of 24-hour power, you know, going forward, and we can, you know, get our industries roaring again. Thank you so much.
That's the goal.
Thank you so much for coming on. That's Mr. Peter Ikenga, MD, Transcorp Power PLC. It was great having you today.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so yeah, there you have it, and that's how the markets are looking today. We're definitely looking out for, you know, how most of the markets we track here close in Nigeria for the midweek trading session. So that's the show today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll hand things over to our Sunrise Daily team.